I don't think I can take him seriously when you want to give Blake Bortles a pass. We all know that he's not exceptional. He's I guess he's all right or whatever, but you got to expect more. The Jaguars are not going to win a Super Bowl as long as Blake Bortles is playing the way that he's playing. His short to medium range passing game is suspect. When he makes plays, he extends them with his legs and what have you. But the reality is that this is a team, the Jacksonville Jaguars, that led the league in rushing attempts and yards per carry. They tried to run the football against New England when they had a 10-point lead in the AFC Championship game, but New England was able to neutralize that attack, and that's what ultimately led to them coming back to winning. He could sit up there and say, we need to trust Blake Bortles more, but he didn't present the question. Why didn't the Jaguars trust Blake Bortles more? The reason why they didn't trust him more is because they've watched him in practice, and they've watched him in his couple of years in the National Football League, or his few years in the National Football League, and they've seen a pattern of inefficiency that wouldn't lend itself towards trusting him. But Jalen Ramsey, a stud, an all-pro, who I got mad love for, by the way, even though this brother can play. And from an analytical standpoint, Max Kellerman, you'd appreciate the fact that AJ's numbers were actually better than Jalen Ramsey. But I know Jalen Ramsey is a stud. He ain't scared of anything. That defense is big time. I don't mind him talking junk. But if you're going to talk junk, don't omit your guy. And not only that, not only did he say that about Blake Bortles, I think letting him off the hook, I'm not saying he did it, but the article that was written about him in GQ, there was no mention of Jameis Winston. Now, if I missed it, I apologize. But if I didn't miss it, and he didn't say anything about Jameis Winston, here's what we're saying. If it's your guy, you got nothing to say. But you got something to say about everybody else when half of them are better than your guy. That kind of dilutes your argument, and that's the point that I wanted to make about Jalen Ramsey. No Blake Bortles, not really anything critical at all about Jameis Winston, who went to Florida State, which is where Jalen Ramsey went to.
Hold up, I'm supposed to take that seriously, but not Jalen Ramsey? Stephen A., you want him to go with his own guy at his quarterback? He's trying to win a Super Bowl? They are a playoff powerhouse right now with that defense.
I did say Jameis Winston, too.
Well, okay, fine. He didn't call out Jameis Winston, who deserves to be called out a lot more than a lot of those quarterbacks on the list. We agree about that. That's not what we're debating. Should you take Jalen Ramsey seriously? In other words, is he giving you his real opinion about everyone except his guy? Yeah, I'll tell you something else. He's giving you the real opinion about his guy, too, because you can hear the language he uses to discuss Bortles is similar to the language he uses to discuss certain other quarterbacks who he thinks are okay, but are helped out by circumstance, by an offensive coordinator, by a receiver. He mentioned those guys. He mentioned Matt Ryan, Jimmy Garoppolo, Eli Manning. We're going to talk more about that. And pointed out they're okay, but really you think they're better than they are because of X, Y, and Z. He kind of used the same language about his own guy, even when kind of defending his own guy, he lets you know what he really thought. Now, look, you might disagree with some of what Jalen Ramsey said, some of his analysis. Andrew Luck is a baller. He's just hurt. But Jalen Ramsey's a baller, and he's saying, here's the eyeball test from a baller. Here are the guys I think can ball. Carson Wentz, Deshaun Watson. We all agree about that. I think he was a little rough on Aaron Rodgers and Tom Brady. He's like, yeah, they're good. They don't stink, basically. Come on, brother. Those guys are ballers. But otherwise, he's looking around the league saying, that guy's okay. He understands. He's comparing them to all the other quarterbacks. He's putting them on that bell curve, saying, here are the guys who are really good compared to the other quarterbacks. Here are the guys kind of in the middle. They're all right. You guys overrate them for one reason or another. And here are the guys who really stink. You might not like the language he uses about Joe Flacco. Stephen A. sometimes will be talking about an athlete, and I'll say, like about a Dwayne Wade, he's washed. And I'm thinking that's kind of a harsh way to put it. But on the other hand, when you want to kind of communicate
Jalen Ramsey.
What you really think, sometimes you use that kind of language. It's
listen.
What people are mad at.
We'll just start with the philosophy for a second. We're not comparing him to you. He's a football player. We're pundits. It's a different responsibility that comes along with our job. All I'm saying is, listen, Jalen Ramsey's a stud. Nobody's disagreeing with that. I'm only making the point, Max, when you talk about something diluting the argument. If you have a teammate or a guy that comes from the same university that you came from, and you either omitted one or you soft pedaled on the other, then I'm saying to you that I'm going to look at the other things that you said about other people with a heightened level of suspicion. That's all I'm saying.
Because wait, hold up. That doesn't make any sense. Because what you're saying is you understand why he's taking care of his guys. But heightened level of suspicion is Deshaun Watson or Carson Wentz. Why are those his guys? He's just telling you, I think they're ballers. Aaron Rodgers, Tom Brady, those guys are actually good quarterbacks. A lot of the rest of these guys you think are good, it's because the team they're on, the quarterback's coach, the O coordinator, or the receiver. Him taking care of his guys makes you question the authenticity of the other stuff?
My bad. Let me be a bit more candid. What I am saying about Jalen Ramsey is what we're really applauding is his candor. I don't think he was that candid about Blake Bortles. I don't think he was that candid about Jameis Winston.